What is good, all of our listeners and viewers? Welcome back to another episode of Games and Groceries. My name is Adam.
And I'm Liz.
And welcome to the Master Chief episode.
Wow.
Woo! We're episode 117, just like Master Chief, where we're going to be talking about will this be the last console generation ever with our special guest, CheapyD.
Woohoo!
But first, we've got some segments for you. Yes, we do. Liz, how you doing?
I am okay.
That's good. That's better than bad.
Well, this is true.
Yeah.
It was just crazy towards the end of my day at work.
Yeah,
That's
true.
it. It just my keyboard decided to just stop working.
Oh, fun.
It was great.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Are
you? A little inside, yes.
Sorry.
That's true, but so comes restaurant work, but that is what it is.
But we get brownies after this.
We do get brownies. That's it. Legal brownies.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Legal brownies.
Anyway.
Illegally.
No.
By the way.
Legally, 100% legally.
Legal. So, by the way, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, and you want to go right over to CheapyD, that's great. I don't blame you, but we've got some segments for you. But just to let you know, we do have some timestamps available for you in the description down below. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to us on the audio version, we've got timestamps for you because this is the American podcast. So do with it what you want.
Okay.
Golly. Oh my goodness, that took a lot of energy. So let's get this ball rolling, shall we?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's just go over some social media garbage. We're on social media. We can follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, or you can follow us individually. I'm at Ace the Grocer.
And I'm at Journey First.
You can also follow us on Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word, where you can look at behind-the-scenes photos, some questions I'll ask for you about the podcast, as well as some, little stories I'll share with that. We're also on Facebook. Great. Website, where you got a website, gamesandgroceries.com, where you can listen to all the podcasts from the website, is where you can find out where you can listen to the audio versions of the website. Dang it, podcast every time.
Every week.
Every time. Articles I've written in the past. Go. Okay. And if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when all these podcast episodes come out. You might be saying to yourself, how can I know when every single podcast comes out? Guess what? There's a little red button, rectangle, down there. Look. Press it. See what happens next week. Boom. And if you're listening to us on the audio version, definitely subscribe to us on your, most favorite podcast platform. You can subscribe to us there. And if you're watching us on YouTube, definitely hit that like and the share button so that more people know about the channel. That's all settled.
Woohoo.
Garbage out of the way. I think it's time to get started with our show. What do you think?
I agree.
Great. So let's get started with our first segment.
Movie Minutes.
Movie Minutes is a segment that we talk about the movies that we saw in the past week, whether it be on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, golly, not in theaters just yet. But we like to give a recommendation or not a recommendation. And we've got a 5-point rating scale here on the Games of Groceries. We got 5 points being avoid at all costs, pass, enjoyable, solid, and perfect for us. So this week's movie, oh no, I forgot to change the slide. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Movie Minutes, everybody. This week's movie is actually not really a movie.
Yeah.
We actually watched a documentary, a Netflix original documentary about social media. Wow, it's called The Social Dilemma. So this Netflix original documentary about the problems in social media and how they're written. It's actually told by the people who designed these social media sites. So let's talk about it. Opening thoughts, go.
I wasn't sure what to expect when we were watching it. It was a little strange.
It was?
Because it had like clips of a movie story in it, and I was confused a bit. And it was very over exaggerated to like the situations.
I'll talk about that in a little
bit. So it was a little different. It was a different type of documentary, but it was really interesting to see like the people who helped create these apps or features on the apps, like their idea, like just hear their perspective on on them. Like it was very interesting.
Yeah. So my first note is that this whole documentary, the whole reason why we're watching is the social dilemma. So it opens up with the question of what is the actual dilemma in social media, and it's looking for what you said. It's looking for the conspiracy of tech companies, and it starts off very negative, right?
Yeah.
It does give you some positives, like social media is so positive. It connects, lost loved ones and all that. But also,
they're stating the intention they had behind creating that app or creating this feature. Like they say, like when we made this, we thought like, oh, this will be so nice for people to do this.
Yeah.
But then they're like, but then there's that other side of the coin where people are using it for bad. And I actually had a whole class about this in like the 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You have to understand. Now, going to my second note, that all documentaries have biases. Like every single documentary, it's not really telling the truth. It's going off of the bias of it.
They have a specific point they want to make across.
Right. And what this one is doing is there is a bias that all social media is just harmful. Like it's going to kill generations. And addictive, which is true. It's very true.
Yeah.
And what I do like about this, and that goes to my final note, but I'll get to that in a minute. What I do like about this is that it does state that it is harmful, but in a very convincing way, right? And that's what documentaries are there for. Now, that's the thing, though. It's very doom and gloom in this kind of social media age. And I'm just watching this as somebody who's trying to grow on social media and trying to make a business through social media. I'm like, let's not.
I agree, but I hope no one listens to this.
Yeah, one of the points that someone said, like, don't click on the video that YouTube recommends to you. Click on something that you want to watch. And I'm like, no, click on the recommended. Do it. Like, because I'm counting on people clicking on the recommended. I'm hoping to get recommended.
It's like you want to support like the government and all, not dictate and not like listening to what you're saying and what you're doing. But at the same time, you're like, but that's our whole career.
That's our whole. So
that's what we want to do.
So this whole thing is going on the basis that social media should be just erased and just garbage. Nothing good will ever come out of this ever again. I'm just like, on my perspective,
if people were better people, then it's not horrible.
So my final note is that nothing in this documentary, none of the information is groundbreaking.
None of it's new.
Nothing.
It's stuff. New. If you pay attention, it's stuff you should already know.
But it's said in a very clear and concise manner from experts.
Yeah, these are people who created it, who worked for these companies.
We get people from Google, Facebook, Pinterest. Right. Yeah. We get people from that worked in high ranking, executives.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's said in a very clear and concise manner. I'm not trying to say that it's just all doom and gloom. It's just conspiracy theories that these people are saying what is the truth.
But they're specifically focusing on the negative aspects.
It's a heavy bias. That's what I'll say.
They say there are good things, but they've really focused on the negative sides.
So let's go into our final rankings out of our 5-point system. Liz, what did you give it?
I gave it a solid. It was informational. It definitely proved it it reached its goal with me, because after we're done watching, I'm kind of like tempted to get a flip phone and just buy a tablet so I can just browse social media when I'm at home. So it definitely got its goal with me.
Yeah.
The only things that I didn't like was that I wish they would have said like the good and the bad, like expanded. Like I'm one that I love more information.
They kind of sprinkled good.
Yeah. I would like to know all the information, and also the weird like cut scenes are fine. Like I thought it was different and I enjoyed it. But at the same time, the characters were so overdone, because if my kids acted like their youngest daughter with crashing the box, I'm like, what?
Why?
I'm like, I would ground her and I would take that phone away and I'd smash it under the hammer she smashed the box with.
I would smash her head.
Okay, well no.
I gave it a solid. I also gave it a solid because the documentary does what is directed, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not you agree with the points, it actually tells you what it wants to tell you, right? It actually makes that clear and concise point.
It's upfront.
It is very upfront with what it's trying to do. So I do appreciate it for what it's trying to do. I don't think it's perfect. I really don't think so. I think it's a solid watch. I really didn't take my eyes off the screen.
Yeah.
It really grabbed my attention.
I didn't take my eyes off the screen because I felt really awkward watching a documentary about how bad social media is and how everyone's addicted to it, and then checking my phone.
Yeah.
So it kept my attention for guilt reasons.
Jeez. No, I did give it a solid just because it was very informative. It did give me a lot to think about, but like you, I wish it gave me all the information, which is funny because one of the points of this documentary that social media doesn't give you all the information.
Yeah.
And here it is, not giving you all the information. Yeah. So that's what it is. So that's our thoughts on The Social Dilemma. It's a Netflix style or Netflix original documentary. We both gave it a solid.
Yeah.
I recommend it. It's fine. So if you have Netflix, definitely check it out for yourself. And with that said and done, it's time to talk about some video games now.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Cool. Let's just talk about video games with our second segment.
Top 3 Gaming News.
The top 3 gaming news is the gaming news that we saw in the past week, and we like to rank it 3, 2, 1 just to give you a condensed version of what's going on in the gaming industry. Believe it or not, that took 3 tries. So we're here with the Business Twins, top 3 gaming news. And let's just jump into the number 3 gaming news.
Number 3
is that Sean Murray shuts the heck up. Oh no, go back.
Oh no.
Oh, spoiler.
What are you doing?
Oh, I spoiled everybody watching on YouTube.
Anyway.
Sean Murray shuts the heck up. So here's the thing. Sean Murray is the creator behind Beautiful Joe and now No Man's Sky. You know, he's part of Hello Games. And let's talk about No Man's Sky, is that he talks way too much.
Yeah.
For No Man's Sky, he was very open. He was a very open book, and sometimes that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Talking too much about a project, and people start to build up expectations, and people did build up expectations.
Yeah.
I still remember working at GameStop when this game was releasing, and a lot of my coworkers were saying like, No Man's Sky, I'll be playing this, and my kids will be playing this, and my grandkids will be playing this game.
Wow.
Yeah, no, everybody was hyped about No Man's Sky. And then No Man's Sky came out. And then Sean Murray actually disappeared from the face of the planet. But then he's back, and I think Sean Murray is a lot wiser now.
Yeah. It's a learning process.
So he's starting to play. He's starting to make a new game. And what he's now said is that he's actually going to remain silent about the development about this game. So I want to read this article right here, or not the whole article, but a little snippet from the article. Link down below if you would like to read it for yourself. It says, Murray makes clear that the new game is aiming to be even a larger project than No Man's Sky. And he says, "Oh, Joe Danger. I'm so stupid. Not Beautiful Joe." Or is it? I don't know. I had a really long day at work. So he quotes this to say, "I would hope that there's a line between Joe Danger and No Man's Sky. And then hopefully we can continue up on that line. Personally, I came away from No Man's Sky with a lot of hunger going forward for things that we have yet to do and things we have yet to prove. So this project will be a big focus for me and the guys." So what he's trying to say in this quote, he's just focusing on the game. He's not focusing on what the game is. He's just focusing on, listen, we got a lot to prove. I'm going to be in the trenches with my developers. We're not going to be talking a lot. I'm not going to be going on press junkets. I'm going to just remain silent.
Yeah.
So there is a new game coming out of Hello Games.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for it. And I'm very excited for Sean Murray.
Yeah.
He's staying silent. He's gotten a lot wiser. And good for him, honestly.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that when you're developing games and you have to even when you become a public face, I think it's that learning process of learning. You can't say things because people who are looking forward to it, they're gonna remember that. even you struggle with that.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Like, every time we're doing this podcast or What's the Biz, you're always like, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it. And then you're like, I'm going to tell you. And you struggle with that. Like, you're excited and you want everyone to know, but at the same time, you know that, like, you don't want to make a promise you can't keep. And you don't want to get people excited and then it fall through. You know? So, like, I think everyone who's becomes a public face of anything struggles with this.
Yeah.
And then eventually they learn when something like No Man's Sky happens.
Yeah. So
you'll have your day.
I will have my day. Sean Murray shutting up. I will learn from him someday. So let's go on to the number 2 gaming news since you already saw it. It's Luna, everybody. Amazon released this. They unveiled this. They're like, you know what? Stadia, hold my beer. So they said, Luna, here we come.
Here we come.
Here we come, Luna. So Amazon announced this. This is a cloud gaming service. It's almost as if Game Pass married Stadia.
Yeah.
And they made Luna. And that's the thing, is that this is going to be, streaming. It's going to be, I'm going to get into the controller in a little bit. But let me read this quote right here from the article. It's a very interesting move from Amazon. I feel like it's a direct competitor against Game Pass. And here's why. Before I read this quote, here's why. First, you're going to be launch. We don't know when the launch is, by the way. It's going to be launching with over 100 games.
Wow.
It's going to be $5.99 for entry, right? Which is what the quote's going to say. And more importantly, what this quote's going to say, you're going to get Ubisoft games day one.
That's awesome.
What does that sound like?
Sounds like Game Pass.
Sounds like Game Pass, because in Game Pass you get over 100 games. You're going to get Microsoft titles day one, and it's not $5.99, but it's a very cheap price. So let me read this quote right here. Players who subscribe to this channel being Luna, will have access to their favorite Ubisoft titles up to 4K resolution, mobile gameplay, and access to new titles when the channel launches, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6, and Immortals Phoenix Rising, the same day they release. This is the first of multiple Luna game channels in development, where the customers can play games from their favorite publishers and genres. So the channels that Luna offers are like Ubisoft channel and maybe someday Rockstar channel, and that's the thing. When they said all Ubisoft games day one, I'm like, this is a direct competitor against Game Pass.
Yeah, definitely.
And what Game Pass doesn't have is that it's a game streaming. This is Game Pass, of course, is download to your console. This is much like Stadia.
Yeah.
I think this is a big, bold move from Amazon.
Yeah.
And not bold and more like dangerous, but this is like, here we are. But what I'm also thinking is that this is exactly what Phil Spencer said.
Yeah, he predicted it, or he already knew that was in development because he's in the industry and they all kind of know what each other's doing.
Because Phil Spencer said a couple months ago, saying that PlayStation and Nintendo are no longer competitors. It's now Amazon and Google. And
we were all like, Amazon, like just buying games on Amazon, and he's like, no. I know things. Yeah,
he probably knew about Luna.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And he said that there are direct competitors, and Luna comes out, and I'm like, that's a Game Pass competitor right there, if I've ever seen one. But yeah, and it's also going to be having a $49.99 Alexa controller that will have multiple antenna connection. It's going to be a Bluetooth controller, so you can switch screen to screen.
Yeah.
I think this is really cool.
Yeah. So you don't need an Alexa to play this, though, do you?
No. You can just play this on your Mac, your PC, your iOS, not your Android just yet. But
TV?
I'm assuming that if you have an Amazon Fire.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it will be a Roku.
So it's like, it'll be like something that's like connected. It's like directly connected to Amazon.
Yeah, and there's definitely TVs out there that are Amazon Fire TVs, and I'm sure it's going to be an Amazon Fire.
Oh yeah.
Thing. I'm sure you'll be able to play it on your Kindle for.
I highly. Maybe.
No, Kindle's Amazon.
I know.
Yeah. So I'm very much assuming that will be a Kindle thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have a Kindle Color, not like a Kindle e-reader.
That's what when you said Kindle, I imagine like the paper white ones. I'm like, what?
Anyways, but yeah, no, super good move. Great job. I'm all in.
Yeah.
Good job. let's just move on to our number one gaming news, which, come on, you knew this was coming. You knew this. Xbox buys Bethesda. Except not exactly. And it's actually going to be a little bit later than that. So let's reiterate, because a lot of people are saying Xbox bought Bethesda. No, Microsoft is in the works of purchasing Zenimax. So here's the thing. Yes, no, this is a Microsoft purchase.
Yeah.
Microsoft is purchasing Zenimax Media, who is, the umbrella company to Bethesda Softworks, which Bethesda Softworks is another branded company with Bethesda Game Studios, and also its software, Arcane Studios.
Yeah.
All that you see that Bethesda logo on is Zenimax Media, right?
Gotcha.
So Microsoft, the company, is in the process of purchasing Zenimax, which the article linked down below, the Bloomberg article, says it won't be completed until the second half of 2021.
Wow.
But we're already seeing developments coming out of it. So here's the real kicker. And this is the thing that people are really shocked about, is that they're in the process of buying it for $7.5 billion.
Wow.
Billion.
What?
I don't know. $1 billion with a B, which everybody should be in comparison to when Disney bought Lucasfilms for $4.05 billion. So basically $4 billion.
Wow.
So
it'd be nice to have money.
Yeah, Disney purchased Lucasfilms for $4 billion.
Yeah.
Microsoft purchases Zenimax for $7.5 billion.
Tells you a worth right there.
It tells you the worth, but it also tells you how lucrative video game industries are.
Definitely.
Like, if you really think about it.
A generation-long series is worth less than a video game studio.
Exactly. And it's just to think that the video game industry is that much more valuable. So, we can argue that, right? But this is a really good deal for the Xbox brand. Yeah. Because Xbox and Bethesda have been team members. They've been buddy for like years now. It's kind of like PlayStation and Insomniac, except, and Toiter. But if I remember correctly, I believe Morrowind was an Xbox exclusive. And it's gone all the way back to Morrowind, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is a really good partnership. Yeah. And what it even does better is that Game Pass is going to be that much more just outstanding of a service.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to have a lot.
Because now we've already gotten news that Doom Eternal is coming to Game Pass. Yeah. And that's the first game to come to Game Pass because of this deal. Yeah. Now, that's really good, because if this deal really doesn't pass until the second half of 2021, it's like, oh man, when are the games going to come? Games are already starting to come. Yeah, Doom Eternal, and
that makes sense, because what would be the point of holding them back from Xbox until then? Like, it's like, all right, you're gonna own it soon anyway. So
hands are shaking, everybody's all happy,
and it kind of shows that it's not like Microsoft came in and it's like, we're gonna own you. It's like it was like something that they both agreed on. It seems like. They're not bitter towards Microsoft.
Exactly. Yeah. And so the other thing is that a lot of people think about is saying that, does that mean Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, Fallout 5, are all of these going to be Xbox exclusives? I don't believe so. And I know Wombat from the CADcast, he thinks so, because, his argument is that you don't spend that much money to just put all that out. But I would like to argue that you do spend that much money to try to make it back with as many platforms as possible. And so does the CEO of Microsoft. So Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft, he has this to say, saying, what? Your phone wasn't on silent.
Remember I tried listening to that song, but before we did this... Why do I have an email from Xbox?
They're saying, Lizzie, we're going to purchase you now for $7.5 billion. I'll be like,
I'm okay with that.
I will sell you down the river for $0.5 billion. Anyways, so Nadella says this. Nadella said Microsoft may consider releasing games on other platforms in the future. He says, when we think about the strategy, whether it's in gaming or any other part of Microsoft, each layer has to stand on its own for what it brings. When we talk about our content, we want our content to be broadly available. So what that tells me is that Starfield's not going to be an Xbox exclusive. What it is going to be, it's going to be a day one Game Pass game. What Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be is a day one Xbox game. What it's not going to be is a Xbox only exclusive.
Yeah.
They want to make that $7.5 billion back.
Well, Xbox in general has never been one to hold games back. Like, they're very for cross-platform.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the rumors went out that Master Chief is going to be on Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah, like Xbox likes that cross-platform idea. They've been trying to enact that and have everything cross-platform. It's usually PlayStation that doesn't want to cooperate and doesn't want it to happen.
It's always
so
PlayStation.
It doesn't surprise me that Microsoft doesn't feel the need to hold back one, because like you said, it'll make them more money.
Yeah,
which is why I don't understand why people hold so tightly to exclusives. But also, it doesn't surprise me because it makes them more money, and they've always been for give it to everyone.
Exactly. I'm excited for this only because 3 reasons. 1, I've been an Xbox fanboy since the first console. I've always been an Xbox boy. I'm Stinky Poo Poo Pants. Write in the comments down below. I'm a Bethesda lover. All things Bethesda Softworks. So now it's all coming together. And I am a very much supporter for Game Pass. Like, I will be having Game Pass forever and ever. Amen. And so because of all these 3 things, this is just a perfect storm for me.
It is.
Because I love Bethesda, I love Xbox, I love Xbox Game Pass, and now I get all of my Bethesda games all in one package.
Yeah.
Without spending a dime. I can play Starfield without trying to spend $70 and being disappointed.
Yeah.
I can play the next Elder Scrolls without being disappointed in like the much I purchased, right?
Yeah.
And if I do decide to purchase it, I will.
Yeah.
But Starfield is a new IP. I get to try it out with my subscription.
Yeah.
And that's that. Great. But yeah, so I'm very excited about this deal. I think this is going to be a great thing for gaming in general, because what this is going to do, this is going to be funding even more Bethesda projects for the long run. So that's why I'm excited for it. So there's so much more to talk about, but you're here for CheapyD. I hear you in my ears. Owie, stop. You're hurting my ears.
Oh, geez.
Bring him on. Jeez. All right. So let's bring him on. Everybody's here for him. Not for my ugly mug. So
I think you have a pretty mug.
Thank you. So yeah, CheapyD is here. We're going to be talking about, is this the last console generation? He's from the CADcast. You all know him. He's a legend in the industry. So let's just bring him on. CheapyD!
Coffee time.
All right, everybody, we are back. Special guest, the one who never gives Wombat a break, CheapyD!
True. That is true.
At least you admit it. Cheapy, it's good to have you on. We had Wombat on the other day. I can't remember.
2 weeks ago.
Because it's all quarantine.
He was on before the Tell Me Why series.
Yeah, weeks go by. Who knows? But you're on. CheapyD, how you doing?
I'm doing great. You passed the Wombat test, so that's why I came on. He survived his appearance. Nothing bad happened to him. Figured it's safe.
You know, you feed him your first food, and you're like, "Oh, take a bite of this Wombat and see if he dies." You know, you've
my
lived
podcast tester.
He's our podcast tester.
There you go.
Well, I'm glad you're on, man. Definitely want to get you on this particular topic, especially since now the next gen consoles, the prices have been revealed. The release dates. Everybody's done the pre-orders. Everybody's maybe pre-ordered their consoles. Who knows? Your boy didn't. But I want to bring you on because you've been here for 15 years, following the industry, probably following even more on your personal endeavors. But I wanted to bring you on to talk about, will this be the last console generation? So, Cheapy, I want to ask you an important question, right? As someone who's been actively following this industry, as I said, for 15 years, right? How many times has this question come up in your work of the arts? I don't know.
I don't think it's been taken seriously. And maybe the last 10 years, people started to take it seriously.
Okay.
But now, I mean, it's very funny that we're recording this show today.
Yeah.
Because there was some major news that broke today that's all about this topic.
Yeah.
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 Which is, I'm talking about Amazon announcing their cloud-based streaming platform called Luna. So if you ask Amazon, their answer is, this is the last console generation, and we have this service you can subscribe to for on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So they've been talking about, is this going to be the last console generation for probably, I'd say, like the last 10 years or so. But the reality has always been that in order to have a good quality experience on cloud-based streaming, you need really high-speed internet. And depending on where you live in this is a big country, and a lot of people still don't have access to, forget about high definition gaming at high frame rate, forget about that. Like, they're lucky they can get on YouTube and watch videos at good quality. So it's a lot. It was a big ask, but obviously as time goes on and technology improves, it's just a matter of time, really, before the high speed internet comes to everybody, or at least enough people to make it a viable business. So it's really funny that we're doing this today. I was like, guys, I messaged you earlier. I was like, did you see the news? I had a feeling you didn't, because you didn't text me anything about it. I knew you were working.
I
was like, wow, this is just so funny that we're talking about this today.
I know, you texted me and I was just literally coming out of fog. I currently work in a restaurant. And so when you texted me, we were just coming out the lunch rush, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't even know what time it is.
Right, I'm spinning. I'm dizzy.
But I looked into it, and that's the thing with the Amazon Luna, which we talked about earlier in the show. It seems to be what Phil Spencer was saying before, how he's saying that, I believe this was 3 months ago. It was only a few months ago, where Phil Spencer said, listen, Sony and Nintendo are not our competitors. It's Amazon and Google. And with Luna coming out, especially Phil Spencer, we all know that Phil Spencer knows these things,
Yeah.
You seem to have a thought. Oh.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's the competitors are who has the most money, really, to do whatever they want.
True.
Right?
That's true.
Microsoft is huge, right?
Oh my goodness.
In comparison to Sony. But Amazon and Google are right there also. And so there's a group of companies who basically can, if they want to buy $7 billion worth of gaming companies, just, snap your fingers and make it happen. Now you have all these exclusives.
Yeah.
Things like that they can make happen. So I don't know. Well, it just really comes down to how focused these big companies are on making a cloud-based platform. I mean, you can develop something, you can design it and make it function, but do you have the right marketing strategy? Do you have the right pricing strategy? This has been these types of services have actually been around for a long time.
Like the Ouya.
Do you remember GameTap?
I actually don't. I can't remember that.
It was an old service brought to you by Turner. Turner Network, the Turner Network, Ted Turner.
Yeah, like TBS and all them.
Subscribe on a monthly basis, and you could play games. You would download like an app on your computer.
Yeah.
This is before they were called apps, I think. But you would download a piece of software, the GameTap client, and then you would have access to these classic like arcade games, and they would emulate, and they would have little information about it, and you would pay a subscription. It was ahead of its time. And because these are all small types of games, you weren't having to you weren't streaming them off over the cloud, right? You were playing them locally, but it's the same idea. And now we at least can make it happen where you're actually playing it on somebody else's giant computers over the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
it's happening. I think people are very obviously Amazon's taking it seriously. Google, like, I don't know how seriously they took it. I mean, they developed the technology, but they seem to have dropped the ball everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a friend of the show, Brian McGinnis of Playable Characters podcast. He also goes to LI Retro. You might run into him every now and again.
Okay.
Big Stadia fan, like massive Stadia fan. He's always
exist.
Yeah. He came on the show the first time to talk about why Stadia will be the best ever, and he's still to this day. He's still playing Stadia as if it's like the greatest thing. Now that Luna's coming out, I have to imagine that Stadia is just going to be like trumped. Basically, what Luna is to Stadia is PlayStation to Xbox. I'm just saying that right now. But,
except that Stadia, I don't think is anything. Their success was anything to brag about. Really, I don't know how big their customer base is.
Yeah,
I mean, Xbox, we know they're doing pretty well. Like, okay, they're not. Yeah, they're not number one this time around, but they're hanging in there. Like, certainly not. They haven't embarrassed themselves. They're selling boxes. Stadia, I mean, you're okay. We got one guy. We got one guy. We got one
from Long Island too.
All right. Well, we won't hold that against him. I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem. I think the main problem with Stadia. I mean, we're not exactly on topic here, but I think the main problem with Stadia is that their whole way of purchasing the games is all crazy. Like, people don't want to buy games over the cloud.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll play them over the cloud if you can pay $10 a month. But like, would you? It's like you're investing in like that. The system is going to be around.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay $60 for a game, and you may be out of business in 6 months.
Yeah.
What's happening then? Like, Google's writing me a check or something? Like, I don't know.
I think the problem with Stadia and going into that pricing stage, and this, I'm kind of like segueing it back into traditional consoles. But the problem with Stadia is that it's trying to treat itself like a traditional console when in all actuality, if this really is the last console generation, we need a shift in how the pricing matches. And when you have a new platform like Stadia or like Luna or xCloud, but you're still treating yourself like a traditional console, that's why it doesn't work, because it's in two different universes.
Yeah.
And you can't divide yourself. I don't know. But that's the thing, is that why is this the most believable generation? And we're kind of on this topic right now. Why is this most believable generation to be the last one? And I think with all of these coming out, right, especially with Game Pass just dominating the force of this kind of service, xCloud, xCloud, it exists. I don't know if people are enjoying it. I'm hearing mixed reviews about it. Cheapy, have you heard anything about it?
About xCloud?
Yeah, I've heard like mixed stuff.
I've heard that it works.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's nice.
But you guys, I mean, like, Liz, do you need to play games outside of your house? I mean, like,
I barely play games in my house, let alone outside my
house. Right. I mean, you guys seem pretty busy to me.
Yeah.
And like, probably just to be able to play the games at home is a luxury, and have the time and the energy to do it. Like, so you have to ask, like, who is this service for, really? Like, I'm lucky. Like, I have the games here right behind me. I can play them. But like, if I'm not home, I'm probably like driving somewhere. I'm not going to be playing, or I don't need to be playing everywhere. I could read a book on the train. I could do a lot of things.
Well, let me argue.
I have no interest in this service personally. I'm like interested in the technology. Like, I think it's cool. And, and in a way, it's just a test of, like, I'm not even sure xCloud is going off your Xbox. Like, if I'm doing Project xCloud and I'm playing on a tablet, is it running off my Xbox? It's running off their Xbox somewhere. It just knows that I have a game. I have this game checked off, like, in my library.
Yeah.
And it's sending, like...
I haven't put too much research into it, just because, again, I'm not one of the clientele, but I think it's originally going to be playing off of your Xbox, and then once the beta comes out, I think we're out of beta now, and I think it's the official launch. now it's running off of their Xbox back in Seattle.
Some big Xbox, some giant Xbox.
Well, that's why they made the Series X. Yeah, the Series X is just a tower.
There's people that's like, it's like 30 stories tall.
Mm-hmm.
They have a nice parking lot.
Well, here's the one thing I do want to argue, and I know you're not the clientele. I'm not the clientele for this cloud service, and that's why I think this might be the last of the traditional consoles, because we're into a new generation of media consumption, right? Like what you were arguing, Cheapy, that's, I don't really play my games outside of my house because I have a full-time job. I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I have to rescue puppies off the streets. Who knows? Who knows what I'm doing on my off time? But I'm too busy to be.
Huh?
You're so strange.
I don't know. Anyways, but I'm not the clientele. But then again, I'm not, a Gen Z person.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say that, like, our old youth group kids, like, they used to bring their games to church and
also
play.
Former youth pastor. Preface there. Go.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but like, they used to bring them to church and play while their parents talked after church or before church or between Sunday school and before youth group started. Like, they always had like a Switch with them or something with them. So like, that's what I was thinking when Cheapy was saying like how he's busy. He's usually doing things. Like, all right, but what are your kids doing when you're doing the driving?
Yeah. How's your son doing media consumption?
I gotta say, like, it's very difficult. It's mostly like I don't let him put games on his phone.
Right.
So that's one thing that I can lock down. However, just the draw of the text messaging to the friends. Like, if his phone, like, I walk by his phone, just sit, like, it's charging, screen is just like lighting up, because all these group chats and everything, and it's just like nonstop. So we have to, you got to lock it down. Otherwise, there's nothing, especially during this time where you're doing virtual learning half the week.
Yeah.
There's because normally when the kids are in school, the phone, at least in Thai school, the phone is not allowed to come out during the school day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to stay in the locker, and that's it.
Yeah.
Now you're at home, like, hell, forget about the phone. You have a whole other computer open on the desk.
Yeah.
Playing games so it's very difficult. So, however, that being said, maybe these kids don't really even need to be playing the games everywhere because they have social media, and that like the draw of that is so strong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, if you give a lot of kids, I feel like give them like a phone with Twitter and whatever. Like, the kids are TikTok. Sorry, Twitter is like TikTok. And if TikTok is still allowed in this country, TikTok and Instagram. I feel like that's plenty. That, like, it's occupying their time. Like, not fine, but occupying their time.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're looking for this.
That's
it's
true.
really, I feel like, the most hardcore gamers. The streaming type of situation.
And I think that's what these companies are trying to go after, is the next generation. But like you had just said, is that I don't think they're actually looking for that, but they're trying any sort of way, because the more we grow older, and it's funny to say, right, when, people my age, I'm nearing 30 in January, and it's just like, oh man, you're still playing video games at 30? It's just, my generation
I'm
grew
also
up.
nearing 30.
Yeah.
That's
You
fine.
are. You're only 28 though. Right? A little bit younger than me. But that's the thing, is that like, oh, you're this old and you're still playing video games. It's like, that's what our generation did. Like, we grew up with video games, and now our generation is going to continue to follow video games, where the next generation, I think that's why we're seeing an end to traditional consoles, because they're trying to see what Gen Z's doing. And really, the people who are actually gaming are gaming on their traditional consoles. And it's just an odd transition.
It's like no one really knows what to do right now, and they're just like feeling out what's working and what's not.
Exactly. And it's an odd mix of who's the actual market for video games as, a topic.
It's
right?
like, this is like the testing generation.
It really is. I'm not even
This is the generation of consoles where we're going to see, all right, this is defining. is this going to work? Are we going to do it all online, or are we going to keep making consoles? Like, this is what it's going to be.
So I got another parenting question for Cheapy, right?
These are good because these, like, I feel like I'm not qualified to talk about a lot. I feel like that's that's on my short list.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm a parent, and at least like you can't deny that I'm a parent. Like,
there you go.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Cheapy, you shouldn't sell yourself so short. I mean, you're tall enough as it is.
That's horrible. I'm hanging.
How long were you holding on to that joke?
I just thought of it.
Got a whole list of bad tall jokes.
Let's not look at my notes, Cheapy. Let's just move on to this question here.
Yeah, you can do it.
But Cheapy, as someone who's grown up in, I would say the early 2000s, you were born in the 90s, I'm assuming. And
the 90s.
But in your childhood, the way you looked forward to video games, the way you looked forward to video game consoles, comparison to how Ty looks forward to video games, how would you say that compares with your generation and Ty's generation?
So for me, it's not even, well, for when I was growing up, everything was in magazines. So you would read about the games in magazines. And it's like, that's when the new game, and you don't really, not following the release dates that closely because you got this magazine, right, with the information, and you put it over there, and you sort of forget about it. And maybe you'll go back and check to see when that game's coming out, but maybe you'll just never read that magazine again.
Yeah.
There's not like a bombardment of marketing coming at you in terms of actual like paid marketing and also, blogs and things like that. So yeah, it was basically that. And also, because the arcade scene was so big then, we were basically just waiting for the arcade games to get turned into home games.
Yeah.
Because that's what we were playing. And we're like, okay, like this game would be great at home. This game would be great at home. Like we're just waiting. And then like, as I got older, I'm reading like, a lot of game previews, before there was a lot of video content.
Yeah.
You're just reading. Every few months, there'd be an update about a game. Maybe there'd be some screenshots, but there would be a lot of text.
Yeah.
And this guy got access to a game. And that's still true today. But I think for the most part, people today are watching videos, on Twitch or on YouTube. Or just, trailers or streamers or content creators, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But I find personally that I don't like to even read much about the games before I play them if they're like story-based games or games.
Yeah.
Because there's spoilers, even in not even just like story spoilers, but a lot of times like the gameplay aspects are spoilerish. Like if you're going to acquire a certain ability later that's going to change the game, you may not want to read about that before you play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think you read. Don't you notice like in previews, you learn about that stuff, and in reviews, you learn about that stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like reading a movie review before you go see the movie. Maybe you don't need all that information. Maybe just the last paragraph is enough.
Yeah.
So now I don't really do. I really just get the basic information, or basically just go to E3.
Yeah.
So you get the presentation.
Yeah.
And that's it. You get the marketing bits, and then you wait till the game comes out.
Yeah.
Dang. And would you say like Ty has any sort of interest in any sort of video game other than Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft? Like we'll just like take those out. But
I will tell you what the hotness is right now in middle school.
Is it
what that new hot? It's the new / old hotness.
Friday Nights Freddy. No.
Among Us.
Really? Oh yeah, that's becoming like a big deal right now.
Very big deal.
Yeah.
And there's a game that I believe you can play in your browser. Because he's playing it on a Chromebook, and I don't know how he got that running.
I think so. Yeah, it's becoming such a hot hit, and I haven't played it yet, and I've seen videos of it, and I think
it's an older game. It's been out for a couple of years.
And I'm just
it's catching on now because of streamers.
Yeah, true. And that's the thing, is that I think streamers really do promote that sort of hype for a game. Much like, well, that really goes into, how Gen Z kind of works. They're watching videos, they're watching favorite Twitch streamers, right? Twitch is becoming a huge thing. Mixer, rest in peace. But that's just it. Is that the media consumption, even of itself, right? To even get excited for video games has changed. Like what you said,
a lot.
Yeah, back in I was going to say back in your day. I'm sorry, but well,
okay.
Yeah, he's in a TV monitor. He can't punch me.
There you
go. But that's the thing is that back when you were playing in arcades, you were excited to play it on your home console. Now you watch a Twitch streamer and you can't wait to play it for yourself because it's available right there and then. Yeah. Especially with I didn't look into if Luna. I saw it was Twitch enabled, right?
If I had to bet, if I was a betting man, I'm going to bet that this thing was developed completely independently of Twitch, with very little like interaction between. I could be wrong. I don't have any information. Inside information. I'm just totally guessing based on what I know about large companies. That they just develop these things completely independent of each other. Maybe like a guy checked in once in a while, but I'm going to expect like nothing at launch, and maybe they figure out some good stuff to put in. Because yes, I mean, I think that would be a great selling point because, I mean, personally, I've come to really like spend a lot of time watching Twitch over this pandemic, basically. Yeah. I find it very entertaining, and strangely enough, the channels that I watch the least are people playing video games.
Yeah, because I always see your Twitch raids over on CADcast. If you're not listening to CADcast, I don't know why you're not. I don't know why you're listening to this podcast when you could be listening to CADcast. What are you doing with your life?
Turn this off right now.
Turn this off. Go for on CADcast, idiot. But on yours, you always raid different Twitch streams, and you've mentioned a heavy metal guitarist. You've mentioned a newspaper. What was the guy? A courier. You've mentioned a courier.
Oh, he delivers food.
He delivers food.
He's like an Uber Eats bike messenger in Manhattan.
Yeah, and he's on Twitch. So there's more than just games on Twitch, right? Yeah. Which is
they call those IRL streamers. I learned.
IRL streamers, okay.
Yeah, in real life.
Sound like my type of Switch.
Yeah, probably.
Twitch.
You're a Twitch, yeah.
Whatever.
Your type of Switch is a Switch Lite.
There's just a lot of really creative people out there that have found interesting things to, they've put their creativity to really good use and basically turned their homes into broadcast studios.
Yeah.
And are using it to showcase their talents. In some case, the actual production is the talent. Because it's just so advanced. And I don't know if you ever watched The Sushi Dragon.
I know you've mentioned him many, many times.
It's just unbelievable. This guy's got like a cloud of servers in his basement, and he's daisy chained them together to make magic, basically. Anyway, but the point is, yes, if Amazon could put Twitch into Luna somehow and make it, I don't know what the integration would be. Yeah, that would be like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. But you think that's a very big opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity because Twitch is becoming massive at this point.
Yeah.
And now Ninja's back on Twitch, so all's well as ends well.
I'm sure they would love to sell Amazon Luna to all the people who are watching Twitch, which are a lot of people.
Did Shroud get back on Twitch? I don't know if I heard that.
Shroud, I don't watch those are the guys I don't watch.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't pick these guys out of a police lineup.
Oh, I don't hear about it either.
I recognize the skill, but
exactly. I
don't watch basketball either, and I know these guys are good. But
man,
okay.
Shipwreck would be ashamed, but here we are watching Uber Eats instead of basketball. Well, let me ask you this, right? And we've kind of touched base on this, right? Now that we've kind of established that the next generation of, the console wars is really actually streaming, right? Streaming games. Do we think that because this will be an untapped market for people in our age group here, because we're all in the same age here, all right on this table here, do we think that there's going to be a next contender for the next big console? Because I got to ask, where did Madbox go? What happened to Ian Bell? Where'd that go?
I forgot
Madbox,
all
right.
about that.
Yeah. Cheapy, you remember the Madbox?
Yeah, the last time I mean, I haven't read about it for a long time. And when you sent me the outline and the show notes, I was like, oh yeah, Madbox.
Yeah. Same. I was like, I forgot.
I wrote
about
that. I wrote that passionately. Like, what happened to that? Because Ian Bell was just so excited to get into the console wars, and interestingly enough, I believe he also had a stream box. I don't think.
Oh, yeah, he might have.
If I remember correctly, he was downloads only as well.
I don't remember.
I can't quite remember.
Well, I don't really remember yesterday, so
that is true.
I'm not really reliable.
But Cheapy, I don't know if you remember anything from that.
About the Madbox?
Yeah.
No, because I don't think that would. When I heard about it, I said, "Oh, that's never going to happen."
And it never did.
First thing I heard
go.
thought about when I read that, like, why, and like, no,
Yeah.
no one's gonna, no.
Why
Yeah.
and no. Yeah.
You're not Amazon. You make car racing games that are. I'm sure they do great. I'm sure that's a great business for you guys.
Yeah. Project Cars is fine.
Not the same thing as putting out a console and the whole point was it wasn't supposed to play like retro games or anything like that. It was supposed to play
like new generation
modern games.
Yeah.
It's not like putting out an Intellivision Amico, which is you can see like, all right, maybe you could convince some people to buy this based on nostalgia, and
he didn't
not
even
that expensive.
He didn't even want exclusives on it, which was the most crazy part of it. It's like
it's like not even your own games.
Yeah, you don't even want to make those exclusive.
Yeah.
I'm like, but like what Cheapy said, what he says, it happens. It's not going to happen. So Cheapy made it so. But
now, if it was like Nvidia,
someone
like that, I mean, because they've dabbled and they still have products in the market. I don't know if you would consider it a console.
Yeah.
But, you also we're talking about, consoles. Like, what's the difference between an Xbox Series X and, like what do I want to say? Like, I mean, an Xbox Series X is a computer, okay? They're calling it a console, okay?
Yeah.
But even the design of it,
it looks like a
look
PC
at the design
tower.
of it.
Yeah.
They're not. These companies spend so much time and money on the design of it. It's not like they just said like, "Hey, let's make it a box. It's easy. It's cool." Like, these guys sat around a table and said, "Okay, what do you think of when you look at this box?" Like, and everyone, focus groups, everything, and. I don't know about you guys, but when I look at that thing, I think, oh, like that looks like a computer.
Yeah.
Basically like a tower, like a tower computer.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's not an accident. They want you to sort of think about that. There's no explanation. Like if they didn't want you to think about that, they wouldn't have made it look like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where you want you to go is that, listen, this is going to be the transition into traditional consoles, into something more of a computer that you get to be on. Now, here's the one problem, though. You mentioned that it looks like a PC tower because of all these focus groups. Now, why, and may I ask, why does the PlayStation 5 look like an inside-out ice cream sandwich?
It looks awesome.
No.
It reminds me of Oreos.
A melted ice cream sandwich. When they melt and they just like ooze out the side.
Yes,
it's like really gross.
Sandwiches.
Oh my goodness, it's just an oozed out ice cream sandwich. And focus group said yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry now.
That's all you.
Now, like, do you think about it? Do you think when you look at a PlayStation 5, do you think like that looks like a console? I don't know what I think that looks like.
You know what it looks like, and a lot of memes have come out about this. It looks like a modem. Like it can look like a modem or a router, right? It looks
it's gigantic.
It's massive.
It is.
Yeah, it's a monolith. Like, let's be honest. It looks like one of those scanners at the grocery stores now.
I feel like
like
Microsoft wants the scanners.
Gotcha, that one.
Yeah.
I feel like Microsoft wants you to think, when you think gaming, think PC.
Yeah. Exactly.
Even on Xbox, like don't not think PC. Sony wants you to think console.
Yeah.
Sony doesn't have like these they haven't put as much effort into their subscription services and their like their relationship between PC. Yeah, they've released a few of their first party games on PC. It's sort of just started to do that. Like they're like dipping their toes in, while Microsoft is like,
let's
play
go
on the PC, play here,
Exactly.
whatever.
So I think this is a good time now that we're halfway through it, and we're actually on the subject of this generation. I asked you on social media. It's social media time, everybody.
Woohoo!
Wow, that garbage of a site, social media in of itself. I asked you on Twitter, Instagram, follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries, or on Instagram, Gaming Groceries, all one word, and I will ask you a question about the show, and I want to get your feedback. So I asked you, will this be the final console generation? And the Greatest Story Ever Played podcast wrote, I think this will be the last Xbox generation, but PlayStation and Nintendo will continue. I think Xbox will switch to a service and Game Pass will be available on everything. Well, you can talk about that. PlayStation will be the standard console, while Nintendo will be the unique console. So that's the first comment. And I think he's onto something there.
Yeah.
And Game Pass has it's trying to get on iOS. It's doing its best. It's not going to happen, but it's doing its best. It's cute, but it's not going to happen. But Cheapy, what do you think of that? This will be the last Xbox generation.
I like his thinking, because I mean, I don't know how he came up with that, but you feel like in a way the Japanese companies want to drag their feet a little bit. Especially Nintendo, right? Nintendo is going to Nintendo. They've got a great business here. We sell this box, this, and we can sell it in a lot of different colors. And then, like, 6 months from now, we'll put a Pokemon on it, and it's the same box, but it's got Pokemon on it. And maybe the guy who bought one 6 months ago is also going to buy this Pokemon one. It seems like they really like that business, and it's working out for them.
Yeah.
So they want to sell you. That Nintendo, makes money on their hardware probably.
Oh yeah,
right. Like the other companies don't pretty much know that. I mean, eventually, as the cycle gets to the end, they figure out they can make more. They can make money, or at least lose less. But Nintendo, they want to sell. They want to sell hardware. They've always wanted to sell hardware.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I feel like if it's a race to it, Nintendo's going to be dragging their feet like, no.
Yeah.
And Sony probably, to a lesser extent, the same thing is true. They may be seeing the success that Microsoft's having with their Game Pass service and begrudgingly saying, all right, maybe we need to invest more in our own services and try to get some bigger games on there to entice people to subscribe.
So I just thought of something to ask you. As someone who's spent a lot of time in Japan, who's really dives deep into the Japanese culture, but you also live in one of the worst places to live in America, Long Island, where everybody can't walk under the speed limit of 35 miles per hour just walking. But let me ask you, with Xbox, Xbox and Amazon, right? Both of these are more American companies, especially Xbox being Seattle. They focus more on Western RPGs, and Nintendo and PlayStation, of course, focusing more on the Japanese market. Now, would you agree or disagree that because America, right, is just so very much so on let's go, let's move, let's go on to the next stage, very non-traditional, it's just let's move forward, whereas Japanese culture is very more traditional. It likes to enjoy its time. It does put its roots deep into it. Would you agree or disagree, or would you add something more to that?
I would say that as far as I'm just a big white guy. I lived in Japan for 9 years. I'm not Japanese. I married a Japanese person, and I made a half a Japanese person. Other than that, I don't have any expertise. But what I will say, and with some firsthand knowledge, that Japanese people are great consumers. They're great customers.
Yeah,
and maybe there's a preference for Japanese-made products. Maybe that's true. However, if you have a great product, it could be from Croatia. It doesn't matter where it's from.
Yeah.
Japanese people will find out about it and they will buy it.
Yeah.
Look at the iPhone. The iPhone came out, and I remember I was living in Japan at the time, and smartphones were just sort of happening in America, and they were they were just very slowly coming to Japan, like the first smartphones.
Yeah.
Because Japanese already had like very advanced flip phones.
Yeah.
Okay. And they just, these new smartphones, they're pretty good, but like they're not great. Like they're okay. They have like a keyboard, that's kind of cool. But Japanese people are really good with they have a whole system with the, typing with the regular number pad.
Yeah.
It's a very computerized and it goes very quickly. So the keyboard meant nothing to them.
Yeah.
However, the iPhone came out and people saw it and they're like, wow, this is actually like, this is a computer like that I'm carrying in my pocket. It's basically, and people found out about it. And I remember all the articles came out, said, here's why the iPhone's going to fail in Japan. And it was all like some nationalistic bullshit. And eventually they bought it because it was good.
Yeah.
And the Xbox, I was there for when the Xbox 360 came out.
Yeah.
And Microsoft tried really hard to push that through in Japan. They spent a lot of money. They everything. They tried to get the games. They tried everything. At the end of the day, it was a good system. Was it like better than the PlayStation? Not really. It was maybe like almost as good in terms of like the library available for Japanese people.
Right.
You could argue that the hardware was as good, but certainly the library was not as good. So Japanese people ignored it because they already they already had, like, I would use a baseball analogy, like they have the Yankees, like they don't need like they have the Yankees and the Mets. They have Nintendo, and they have Sony. They don't need another baseball team.
I was about to say, like, if you just say like, oh, they don't need something crappy like the Phillies, I would have been like, we're ending the call here. Have a good night.
But like, look, if a new New York baseball team was coming, let's say Buffalo was having a team, and they had like something like they were really well funded, and they got like all these great players, and they were awesome. Yeah, like people were like, "Go Buffalo!" Right? Like, same thing. Like in Japan, if Xbox came like kicking at, like people would buy it. So if you build a great product, most of the time people will find it, no matter where, what part of the world they're living in.
So what it sounds like to me is that the Japanese market is a lot more intentional of what they buy in terms of it doesn't, oh, wow, it makes me feel really cool, but they're very intentional in terms of, is this a good product?
I think they're really informed. Like, why take a risk on a product that it might be as good as the PlayStation? I know the PlayStation is like right here. Yeah. This product maybe is, and not, almost as good. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Like why? Why would I have limited room in my little Japanese apartment? Like I'm not lining up consoles, and I'm not made of money. So people are gonna go with the safe choice.
Yeah. Let me read the last comment that we have. So this is kind of like a piggyback off of what greatest story ever played. What's up, Dan, by the way? And she's this is Acumander Nikki, who says, I agreed with Story Ever Pod. She says that I think Nintendo will stay forever. And Xbox with all Game Pass stuff will be the last. I'm not sure, though, about PlayStation. Maybe it'll be the last two or name something different, because the PlayStation PS6 won't look good in a logo font, in my opinion. I think they can make it work. I don't know. I think they can make it work, but that is true that PlayStation is kind of the wild card in this whole, is this the last generation? Because Xbox, I feel like, has taken a step out in terms of, especially with this Zenimax deal. They just said, with this $7.5 billion, they said, this is Game Pass. This is what we're sticking to. Yeah. Get used to it. Yeah. Whereas Nintendo says, Breath of the Wild 2. Everybody. But PlayStation is just kind of in that middle where we're not really sure what they're thinking right now, especially with the digital and the physical edition being the exact same console versus the Xbox Series X and the S. Dumb names, but that's beyond the point. They're completely different. Whereas the PS5, both the consoles are the exact same. I'm not sure what PS is thinking. Sony. Yeah. What do you think, Cheapy?
I think Sony, in their mind, like Sony's made some moves to sort of transition to their digital storefront.
Yeah.
Remember they pulled all the individual game cards out of stores. They don't sell those anymore.
I saw your tweet about that.
Yeah.
You go to Target and you can buy, money for your PlayStation wallet, but you can't go buy Call of Duty on a card and then redeem the card and download the game. So they really want people to just buy the games through their store directly.
Yeah.
And I think they're, in a way, this is a way for them to have a lower price console and attempt to lock people in to their store. The problem is the retailers aren't too excited about that. It's how does that help us? We're selling this thing. We're probably not making any money on it, and it's taking up space in our store, and people can't buy. We're selling you the razor blade handles, but you can't. We're not selling the razor blades. What are we doing? And so I think that's the bigger problem. Sony could always sell these through their website if they really wanted to, and set up some sort of major distribution and just sell it themselves if they really want to be aggressive. But I think it's risky to alienate your retail partners even today when people are buying stuff online, and you still have to keep the online retailers happy. So I'm sure Sony would love to have not even sold you one with a disk drive at all. They had their way. No disk drive.
And that's why
kind of against their message of from last go round, right? Here's the disc.
Yeah,
discs.
it is very interesting to say that with PlayStation's model, it's the exact same console, same, and it's $100 cheaper. You're not going to get anything different, unlike Xbox, which is odd because of the Game Pass. But it is their market where it's saying you're going to get the same exact one, but do you want to save $100 and just go through our storefront? And it's just wild.
I think now that I think about it, the real incentive for Sony to do something like that is just to say that there is the possibility that you could buy a PlayStation 5 for $400 as opposed to there just being one. The reality is that they're not making very many of these in comparison to the $500 model.
Yeah.
So in theory, you could get one of these, but you better have been quick on that with all your browser tabs, because there just were not very many of those. It really not very many.
Yeah. I want to quickly ask you before we go into our closing thoughts here. I the first time I met you was in Retro Long Island, right? We go to the Retro Expo Long Island. Rest in peace for now. But I
did it online this year.
I was there. I saw you.
Saw you.
Yeah.
Saw you in the chat.
I'm hard to miss because I'm a pineapple. But I do want to ask you about the retro community just for a hot second before I go into closing thoughts. With this being the last console generation, maybe, who knows, and a lot of things going into streaming, what is this going to do for the retro community in the next 10, 15, 20 years? Do you think there's going to be a retro community in this generation, or is it going to stop at the Xbox 360, let's say?
Well, there's certainly a lot of years of video game consoles that people can still collect, play, or not play, as some collectors do. I think, like anything else, you can have a long, rich history of something, and then some technological shift happens, and there's just no more physical tchotchkes anymore. It's just everything's on a screen. It's just video, and but I don't think that's really a big deal. I think there's been so many consoles. I don't think that a retro collector or enthusiast is going to run out of things to investigate. They'll run out of money before they run out of consoles and games to investigate, or things that they could buy, because that's basically what you're asking, right? It's what are these people going to buy?
That is true.
Spend their money on.
I think more of
they could way in the future when the streaming ends, they can collect just the controllers that you have to get.
That's true. They can collect the Luna controllers.
There you go.
Limited edition controller.
And I think even more to game preservation. Even I know we definitely we once had a conversation with limited run games about game preservation. Well, actually, no, we talked to Eon Gaming. We talked to limited run games about something else. I'm getting my things mixed up. Anyways, the point being, I guess I am asking more of like game preservation. Do we think that new games coming out, they're not going to be preserved in the same light as, say, retro games of now, like, you know, even going to a television? And I think that's going to be the real issue with streaming games is preservation of history. But it's a hard question to answer because we are not 20 years in the future. Yeah. We're not 30 years in the future. We don't know what's going to be. But I think that's going to be the hardest part in terms of retro gaming community. Also buying it. And if we go to these retro expos, Cheapy's right, that you're going to run out of money before you They're so expensive.
There's a lot of stuff to buy.
To the expo this year.
I know. I hope there is. You know, wear your mask, people. Maybe it can happen if you just wear your mask, unlike people in Lancaster County.
I'm going to be a pessimist and say it's probably not going to happen.
Wear your mask. But I just want to touch on that for a hot second, and I think it's a good time to go into our closing thoughts here. So if this really is, and I'll start first, and I like how you look at me right now, Liz.
Well, because you went like this, but then I didn't have room, so I just went like this.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
That actually kind of hurts my hands because I have cuts on it.
That's what you do. You do know what to do. You do this.
Yeah, you just go to sleep. I don't know. But here's the thing. If this really is going to be the last of traditional consoles, we could be just seeing a great transition in gaming history, right? We talked a little bit about arcades into home consoles, and I want to really even touch on this is just another stage in gaming history where we get more convenience, right?
Yeah.
If you went to play a video game back in the days, right, the Stone Ages, the dinosaur days where you rode a Tyrannosaurus Rex to school.
What?
Yuck. But you go into those arcades, and that's the only way you can get into video games. Then you got a home console, right? And you have it in your home. Now we're seeing it sort of shift, a transition into even more convenience. Yeah. From a home console into you can play it.
Anything.
You can play anything.
Pocket console.
Yeah. Yeah. Whilst pooping.
Like, why?
Because I can. Technology ordered me.
I understand you can, but why'd you have to... Never
Phil
mind.
Spencer specifically tweeted me, and he said,
"No, he did not.
He did?
You are lying."
Cheapy, save us. What do you think?
I don't know the truth. I
don't know if he tweeted you to poop while playing Halo. I don't know. Cheapy, closing thoughts. What do you think about this? Final consoles? Any other thoughts?
I think Microsoft seems to be really on this generation, and they're taking everything very seriously.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to be, they see the future, that the internet's getting fast enough to do this cloud gaming stuff. Mm-hmm. And they are trying to time it perfectly, right? We got this console coming out now. By the time this console is getting a little, long in the tooth. Yeah. Transition right to the cloud gaming. Yeah. Do it maybe sooner, if depending on the sooner bit is really all about like when do these parts of the country that don't have good internet get good internet, and then it can expand. But so I think they're going to be the first to hit that and run. And I think your feedback from your listeners was really good. Nintendo will definitely be the last. Yeah. And Sony now is just like, we should probably think about like what we want to do about this whole console thing. Like, do we still want to sell boxes? Do we want to make it more of like a stylistic type thing? Like, okay, we don't need to sell you like a computer and call it something else, a console, which is what they all are, obviously. Yeah. But what if we have like a cool like stream box? And it's it's not $500. It's $50 or whatever, and we can make it stylized. Yeah. And like the Walkman. I don't know, something. Call it the Walkman.
The Walkman.
That'd be great.
But there's they may be hooked. Focusing on wanting to sell you a box still because it kind of works out for them.
Yeah.
Just like Nintendo's figured out. So, man, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. See what happens.
Man.
I'm excited to figure out where I'm going to put my Xbox.
I'm excited I'm excited for Sony to bring back the Walkman. Like, please, Sony, if you're watching this, my goodness.
That'd be great.
They probably did in Japan. I guarantee you they put out something called it the Walkman. It was like an MP3 player or
That'd be great.
Something that you're not a mini disc player or something like that.
Yeah.
Man.
See, like mini disc players didn't catch on in America for some reason, but they were great. And they've caught on in Japan because they like a good product in Japan. And it was a good product.
Sounds great.
Man.
They knew it. We don't know what we want here in America.
I was going to say, like,
shove it down our throats. We'll take it.
I miss my MP3 player.
Yeah.
It was great.
I was
it was like this big.
Dang.
And I had like 40 songs and it was
Are you talking about the SanDisk?
No, I had like this, like, it was like the size of a USB drive MP3 player that my dad got for free from work.
Jeez.
I had one that was
loaded it with all my songs.
It was like a dice. Like it was a little bigger than a die.
That's
it was
awesome.
a cube and it had a little screen on it and everything. It was awesome.
That's amazing.
We're getting
you
so off
plug your
topic.
headphones into it. You could swing it around because it was just a little plastic cube.
So, closing thoughts is that we're moving to Japan. All of us, we're getting out of this country. Goodbye. We're going to get that dice MP3 player. Okay, we got a game plan here.
Mini disc players.
Mini disc players.
Everybody.
Oh, Liz, closing thoughts.
I pretty much 100% agree with the tweet, the
social media
Twitter,
answers.
yeah, that stuff.
Yeah.
And Cheapy, that like, I think Microsoft is definitely gonna be the first one to forego it, but I do think that they're all collectively gonna try and hold on to that box of some sort to sell you, because I think it's gonna be a while before they figure out how cost effective it is to get it on your TV in some way.
Yeah.
But I think we'll still have a box of some sort, but to call it a console, I think will be a stretch.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be that transition where I don't even think they'll be called consoles. There might be a box, but will we define
receiver.
it as? Yeah.
It'll be a receiver.
It will be interesting to see. Much like a Google Chromecast.
Yeah.
Would you call that a console?
No.
But it's a little... Well, it's not a
That's
box.
how you use Stadia.
It's a USB
you need
drive.
a Chromecast.
Yeah.
You want to use the controller.
And you just set your TV on fire because the Chromecast is so hot because Brian McGinnis, I'm so sorry, but Stadia is just no more anymore. Just stop playing it. Go back to Luna. I don't know what to tell you, man. But I think this is a good show.
Good job. I'm glad you think your own show is good.
We're proud of you. We're all very proud of you.
Thank you, everybody. I'm just so proud of myself. But before we close out, we want to roll out the red carpet. CheapyD, how you doing? Where can we follow you? What should we be listening to? Where's your Twitch channel? How much have you pooped in the last 2 days?
What?
Just let us know.
That's disgusting. You should definitely, especially if you're trying to score a new console, definitely follow Cheap Ass Gamer on Twitter. At Video Game Deals is the place you want to go. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. You can look us up there. I'm at CheapyD on Twitter, but that's just a waste of time, basically. And you can listen to the CADcast. It's available everywhere. You can just Google that and find some place to watch. We're on YouTube now. You want to see like 3 white guys. Somebody wrote in last week. We forgot to read the comments. Somebody wrote in. It was so funny. They were like, guys, can you have another person come on the show? Like, just, a pretty woman, like, just to like show up and, or maybe even like a good looking guy, like just like looking at you guys, like why even have video? What's the point of the video? Basically,
that is so mean.
Like, why would I watch this video?
Oh my goodness.
And he had made a lot of good points.
Jeez. Well, all this to say is that I'm pretty good looking guy. I don't know. I'm just.
My goodness gracious.
I'm just pointing something out. Anyways,
he's trying to get on the show.
Cheapy. I would never. But if you're just anyways, but definitely check out the CADcast. I mean, my last point is that Cheapy, like, big inspiration. You, Wombat, Shipwreck, all together. This is why I started doing this podcast. So it's just amazing that you even like came onto the show. It's been a blast, man. But
my pleasure.
And honestly, if you're listening to this podcast, you need to be listening to CADcast. Don't even go to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's just he's a nobody. Come on, go over to Cheap Ass Gamer like that.
I watched Joe Rogan. I was not impressed, by the way.
Yeah, by the new studio. Yeah, it's
anything to Joe Rogan.
Really, There's some.
I like his little clips sometimes on YouTube. Like they'll have like a 2-minute clip, and I'm like, that's great. But then sometimes like he's just like, he's not like engaged with the people. He's just sort of like sitting there, and he's like.
My last point to you, and Gus and Eddie on the Gus and Eddie podcast, they made a great point about the Joe Rogan podcast. All of his guests are yes people. Like, and I just noticed that every time I watch it, they're yes people because this will further their career every time they go on. Of course.
Well, I mean, the guy's huge. If you don't agree with him, he's going to kick your ass right there.
Exactly. He's like a gorilla,
dude. He's like an MMA fighter. You see that guy? Of course, yeah, Joe. That's a great point, Joe. That's
a great point.
Man. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Don't wear a mask. Right. Masks are stupid. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean.
What do you say, Joe? All right.
So the point being is that you shouldn't be listening to Joe Rogan. You should be listening to Catcast. Also Games and Groceries, but also Catcast. Complimentary. CheapyD, thank you so much for coming on. I don't mean to waste more of your time. You got a family that loves you.
I have to feed my family.
You have to feed your family.
I'm about to order a pizza.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Working hard.
I'm
Dang.
so excited.
All right, man. Thanks again for coming on the show. And be sure to follow him on Twitter. I know he says it's a waste of time, but go ahead and do it anyway. Definitely follow us on Twitter at Gaming Groceries. Follow us on Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word. Find us on Facebook, that garbage of a site. And thanks again for listening to this week's episode. I hope to find you next week. Remember to wear your mask for the love of God. And be safe out there. Take care.
Bye.